Good evening and welcome to the Brownbread Mixtape!
Brownbread Mixtape.
Very true. So if I say brown, you say bread. Brown, bread, brown, bread.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Brownbread Mixtape podcast, Ireland's only podcast dedicated to spoken word and to independent music. So on this month's podcast, we are really blessed. We've got a wonderful musician from North Carolina called Lindsey Ryan, who performed at the Brownbread Mixtape a couple of years ago. And I was lucky enough to find myself in North Carolina this summer, and I did not want to miss the opportunity to interview her. So we have a fantastic little interview and some wonderful studio sessions with her. And I should preface the show by saying she couldn't decide herself which cover version to share with us. She had two astonishing cover versions, as it happens, that she recorded with us. She recorded them sort of separately from the interview itself when I was there. And what we've decided to do, just in the interest of sharing all of the good stuff that we got, we're going to include one of them in the show, which is this Steely Dan cover that she does. And then at the end of the show, don't leave, stick around. We're going to share the other cover version, which is a Springsteen song, which is also staggeringly beautiful. So without further ado, let's launch straight into this month's podcast. This is Lindsey Ryan and an interview conducted this summer in North Carolina with her. And we're going to open the show with her song from her album, The Divers.
Just a stone's throw.
right, so that was The Divers by Lindsey Ryan, and I'm very, very excited to have her here with us today on the podcast. So welcome, Lindsey Ryan.
Thanks, Carla.
No problem. So I think let's just jump straight into it. I know that you've trained as a writer, but you're also a songwriter. So I wanted to maybe hear a little bit about how you came to music, and then maybe where writing fit into that whole mix as well. So maybe talk us through a little bit of the background of where music came into your life.
Yeah, as I'm listening to your question, I'm thinking, they've always been in my life. And I think when I was younger, I can't remember starting with writing first or with music first. So I was always writing little stories and poems when I was a little kid, and I had a library in my grandmother's back bedroom with collections of books, and I don't know, I just played back there all the time with my little library of books that I'd written, and but I also took piano lessons, so
Yeah, sure. Did you have a musical family?
Oh yeah, so my parents are very musical, and my dad's he's a bluegrass musician and plays bluegrass. My parents met through music, and
Is that right?
Yeah, a couple of months ago, my mom gave me a set list from one of their first shows together. It's like the most precious thing that I own. It's got her handwriting and all the songs that they did together. So.
And did you start then? So you did piano lessons, and that was like formal training as in piano. And did you play other instruments, or was that generally where you played?
I played mostly piano, and I don't usually talk about it, but I did play the alto saxophone.
Did you really?
A serious sax player. And I played for a while. I was all about it, even though my mom made me practice in the backyard facing away from the house.
So when did you actually start writing songs?
I think I was just one of those dorky kids always playing in the backyard by herself and making up songs to my cat. Or I remember my first songs. I will not share them with you because they're ridiculous, but just I was kind of a loner, goofy kid that was always, creating things.
Yeah.
Like commercials. And I had a band when I was in elementary school with my next door neighbor girls.
You did?
Yeah. And
but then obviously at some point you decided that like writing or songwriting was going to be something you were going to take a bit more seriously and make it your life.
Yeah, so that happened in high school when I got really, really into it, and still trying to find myself I was studying classical piano, and I wasn't really sure if that's where I wanted to go, and but I was writing songs kind of secretly, not really sharing them with my peers at school. I went to Northwest School of the Arts, which is a high school here for serious artists, and I was really fortunate to go there. And
you had to choose music as a strand of study then?
Yeah, we did. So and I was really into musical theater and piano.
Right.
So but secretly writing songs.
Right.
So,
and that then developed into kind of, obviously the creative drive was always there, and you went on to study later then, to study writing, because that's when I met you. You were studying poetry.
Yeah, I actually started off studying opera in college.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. Opera, singing.
Yeah, that's how I ended up going to school, and I got a scholarship for singing opera. It was a way that my family could, I could afford to go to college.
Sure.
So it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, but it got me into a pretty great school.
And where was that?
And it was at SMU in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
And I hated it.
Did you?
It's awful.
Really? Why?
It sucked because I was supposed to be writing music. I should have been. It was really strict and really hard, and I just didn't fit in. But I made a lot of friends. I made great friends, and that's when I took songwriting really seriously, and I knew that that's what I needed to do.
Right.
So I dropped out.
Right.
And formed a band.
In Texas?
Sort of, yeah. I started writing songs with a band in Texas, and then I moved back home to North Carolina, and then recorded my first record.
Great. And tell me as well, I know that your first record is one that you have a different name on your record, and now you have and now you're Lindsey Ryan, no relation whatsoever. What's the story there? Why did you decide to change the name between one album and the next?
Honestly, for teaching reasons, because
Really?
I'm a teacher here, and my music's really personal, and I don't want a bunch of little kids coming to my show and getting all up in my business and asking me questions about who's this boy this song is about.
Right,
It's
okay.
just, you know, I'm in my hometown now, and I tried to have a little bit of, I don't know.
Separating one from the
Yeah,
other.
it hasn't worked too well.
Everybody
found
knows your
me
stuff.
out.
Right. That's the internet age, you see. They can find anything now.
They found me out.
Well, fair enough. But then, obviously, between doing that and between where you are now back in your hometown, you did spend time studying writing
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
So tell us a little about that, because obviously as a poet I'm fascinated as well about studying poetry specifically and the craft and writing and all of that.
Yeah, so I think what happened when I left school in Texas is I still was really hungry for knowledge, but I knew it wasn't in classical music. And I don't know how it is in Ireland, but it's really tough to find a university here that, you know, lets a musician focus on songwriting as a craft. There are a couple of schools that I looked at, so I just decided that I needed to go and study poems instead, and love poems, love poetry. Always have loved it just as much as listening to music, to read poems. So then I went to a school here in Charlotte for creative writing, and then decided that I needed to take it further, and I moved to New York to study poems. But it's always with the intention to help me with my songs.
Well, they're not that far removed, I suppose.
They aren't, but they are if you ask poets sometimes.
Oh, right.
I don't
Well,
know, it just depends.
this poet doesn't think so. But
Yeah, and the musicians, the writers that I met up in New York were incredibly supportive of my songs, and I got a lot of, they would accept them in workshops to look at lyrics diagnostically. And,
as poems,
as
as pieces of literature. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you still have a fairly strong bond with those people that you studied with?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't, I'm so grateful. That's the thing that I'm most, happy about going to school, is making that community, creating that community for myself. And we're always inspiring each other and supporting each other. And I owe so much to them. So.
Yeah. Well, Sarah Lawrence College is one of those places, I think, that has a name for bringing out the best in people creatively as well, doesn't it? So obviously now you're back in the music scene here in North Carolina. I think for listeners in Ireland, it'd be interesting to know, what's it like as an independent musician in North Carolina? Like, what's interesting about it, or what could you tell somebody about if they were coming to listen to independent music in North Carolina?
Well, it's an exciting time to be a musician, because when 10, 15 years ago when I started, everybody was chasing labels and trying to get help from the industry, and nobody talks about that anymore.
Right.
And it's just everybody's coming out to support each other creatively.
Yeah.
Charlotte isn't the best town in North Carolina for having the support from the public, but it's got amazing musicians here, and there are some phenomenal towns in North Carolina, like Chapel Hill and Asheville, North Carolina especially, that have these huge thriving music communities and music scenes.
And artistic in general, right?
Yes, it's so much fun. I'm always hitting the road and driving a couple of hours to go hear bands play.
Yeah,
Chapel
and
Hill
play
and
yourself
Asheville.
as well, right?
A little bit, yeah. But it's
You've got some lovely venues here in Charlotte, though, as well. I like the Evening Muse a lot.
And we've got great venues. And we have an amazing group of musicians. I am so honored to play with the guys here that I know.
Yeah.
That, are in my band, and all my drummers in like 6 other bands. I think he's the busiest guy in town. I'm so thankful that he plays music with me. So
I'd love to talk more about them, and I think we will in a little bit later when we talk about sort of the projects you're working on at the moment. But I also wanted to maybe just touch as well, having talked about North Carolina music, you did play with the Brownbread Mixtape in Dublin a couple of years ago now.
yeah,
Actually, it's a while ago.
It's been over 2 years.
Yeah, but maybe just as an outsider, what was your impression of the night, and what was your impression of playing music in Ireland, maybe compared to playing music here, and even just give us those impressions, because I think that'd be interesting to hear.
Oh my gosh, Carla, that was such a great night. I'll never forget it. And I'd give anything to have nights like that performing in Charlotte. Yeah, it's true. Everyone was just so attentive, and the talent that I heard, it just was so exciting and so inspiring, and really helped me. I think I was finishing my record.
You were just finishing your record, I think, yeah.
And it just gave me so much encouragement to get it done and tie the bow on it. And everybody's so nice there.
You got to play with some Irish musicians as well.
I did, with Christoph and
Enda, yeah.
And it was just such a special memory.
Am I right in thinking, I think you told me afterwards, because I sent you like the live recordings of the night, and you had sort of said based on some of the stuff you heard that night, you actually remixed some of the tracks on your record as well.
We did. We play a couple of the songs differently now than the way we recorded them, because I like the way that we ended them just on the spot.
Great.
That night. With those guys that learned the songs the day before.
Yeah, they're good guys.
The show. So they were so good.
Well, that's great. And thanks for your kind words about the night as well. That we weren't fishing for compliments.
Thanks for having me there. I hope I can come back sometime.
You're definitely welcome anytime. I'm sure the audience would love to see you back as well. Well, listen, before we go on any further, I think it would be lovely to hear you play one of your own songs now. So maybe can you tell us what you're going to play for us, and maybe why you picked it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to play the song Magdalene. It's, I don't remember, like the 6th or 7th song on my record. And I just thought it was a really fun song to write.
Great.
Because it started off as a poem.
Great.
And,
even better.
Yeah, it started off in first person, and then I kicked it into third, and then back to first, and just really played with it a lot. And so I don't know.
Cool. Well, let's have a listen to it. So this is Magdalene. We'll take it away.
Magdalene is fast asleep. Her wristwatch said it 3:30. Don't wake her up, she might talk me. Her curtains raise a faraway song of churchyard bells with one gone wrong. But Magdalene ain't even home. With Magdalene, no telling when she's gone. Magdalene's a real sweet peach. She'll make you take another drink. She'll dance for you in stocking feet. Oh, Magdalene gives kisses when you sleep. La da 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 da. Magdalene don't care a thing if she can't get a bird to sing. If she ain't sure whose love she's for. Oh, Magdalene is slipping out your door.
that was Magdalene. Thanks a million for playing that for us. That was really, really sweet.
Thanks.
So I wanted to talk maybe a little bit about your writing process. It's something I've asked everybody on the podcast, and it's something that fascinates me. Let's talk about songwriting first. Are you a pen and a paper kind of person who sits down, or are you somebody who like just sort of lets it flow and maybe comes back to it and records bits and snippets, or how do you do it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, but I definitely am pen and paper. I carry little journals everywhere. I have them everywhere, and like I have different pocketbooks, of course,
Yes.
right? And each one is a different little journal. It's like I have to have it with me, and I scrabble a lot.
Yeah.
And, leave little evidence of, ideas everywhere.
And is lyrics a starting point for you, or is it chords, or is
It's
it?
usually a melody that comes with a lyric.
Okay.
It's usually this melody that happens with a lyric at the same time, and then I'll record that and really have no idea what the song's about or what I'm intending to sit down and write about. I just sort of, I guess you could consider it a seed.
Yeah.
And it sort of develops into something. And sometimes it will change from what
Sure.
it started as. But it's usually just one line, a lyric on a melody. And then they're usually choruses.
And how are you capturing that? Like, do you have a little recording device or something in front of you, or?
Yeah, I'm old school. I use cassette recorders.
Right on, Brownbread Mixtape.
I use a cassette recorder. And I have, an iPhone now. And so but then I fill up the stinking data already. Like, I'm always so...
So you'll listen back to those recordings then and kind of modify and record again then?
Yep. And then I'll record just lengthy doodling of the song. Like, I'll sit down at the piano and just push the idea out for, 15 minutes. And
Really?
then just, make up stuff. And then I go back and listen to the bits that I think are keepable.
Yeah,
So-
and what like that's the part that fascinates me as well. I mean, what do you determine is the keepable stuff? Why does something stand out above something else?
I think when you push yourself through improv,
Yeah.
and you're patient with yourself, and you take it a step beyond, where you might be ready to get up and, get some coffee or whatever. If you keep going, then it sounds kind of silly, but for me, it's like something else other than me sort of can take control, and then I come up with these ideas that are just because I'm really into it and in the moment, and then I always put them away for several days or a week.
Right.
And you forget what you did, and then you go back to them and listen to them, and it's just like when you hear a song that you love, or you love a part that somebody sings, it's usually those parts that you're able to kind of
You're
sit
excited about
through.
it.
Yeah, and then those are the gems. Not that I have a lot of gems or
Right.
anything. I wouldn't
Plenty
call them
of gems.
gems,
No,
but
no,
the
no,
pieces
absolutely. Of course you
that
do.
I feel are worth keeping.
Yeah, sure. And I know, like, you already hinted at it that you've sort of worked with bands in the past, but I know a lot of the work that you've put out there is you as Lindsey Ryan. What do you think is the difference between writing, say, for yourself, like you're talking about this kind of improv thing where you're recording, and whereas you're then jamming with a band and putting together? How do you find that writing process?
It's a new process for me, writing collaboratively, and I love it, just because it's stretching me. And let's see, lyrically,
In what way?
though, I don't know. Just because you have to, it's easier in some ways because you've got someone to help you with ideas,
Right.
and it's harder in some ways because you've got someone to disagree with.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky to play with very passionate people that are very creative. So we get in some really funny arguments about like two chords. They're
Right.
not arguments. They're just
Disagreements.
Yeah, it's so much fun though.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And then my favorite parts of those songs are the parts that somebody else developed.
Right.
So in this particular group, my new project that I'm playing with, we are writing the music together and the chord progressions and the arrangement, but I still get to work on the lyrics. So.
Right. So you're the lead writer vocalist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
And it's the first time I'm playing with, it's not the music's not as girly. It's not. So I'm really having fun exploring different voices than the typical voice I use in my own songs. It's just very different. It's much more imaginative and not as personal. Very vague and mysterious kind of stuff. It's fun to hide behind this veil right now.
And a different way of approaching it. Yeah, that's cool. And in terms of actually writing and performing, do you ever write with a performance in mind, or are you writing just for the song and the song to be good, and then the performance comes later? Because you just mentioned like how you're playing some songs a bit differently already.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about this earlier this week before we agreed to talk, and one thing I don't talk about very often, but when I was in high school, and I mentioned earlier I was secretly writing songs, I asked my dad for my, I think, 16th birthday to go into the recording studio.
Really?
And record a demo. And through this gift he gave me, I met some amazing people that at this recording studio in Town Reflection Recording. It's just an amazing place. And
is it still there?
It's still there.
Wow.
It's still there. It's an incredible studio where some amazing records have been cut. And through I don't know, the graciousness and generosity of Wayne Jernigan, who owned it, he saw something in me at that little age and allowed me to record demos in there on this beautiful piano whenever I wanted to.
Wow.
So it was...
what a mentor.
Yeah, huge mentor. And he was also good friends with Don Dixon, who
Cool.
Was the producer of REM's Murmur and Reckoning. And
wow.
so I got in with this crew of mentors
Super.
at a really young age. And they wanted to hear my songs, I guess, in hopes to maybe one day see where it went, if I could, make an album with them. Or nothing ever happened big time like that, except for the fact that I got really used to recording for people that I felt like really cared.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and
sure.
So,
and you would listen to their point of view then as well, if they're actually giving you advice or
all
thoughts.
All they really ever said was just, you gotta keep writing, which is all that you need to hear, really. And I kept writing, and I think if I hadn't have had that connection, I don't know, if I would have just given it up and like started tap dancing or,
right.
I really am so grateful to the way that shaped me as a writer, because I do feel like I don't write for the stage. I don't write for an audience. I write to and imagine myself recording them in that space,
right.
just me.
You
know, and anytime I go in there, I have like over a decade worth of little demos that I made at that piano, and it would just be me and the engineer.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even be there. They'd talk to me later on the phone.
That's amazing.
So it just was a very intimate, quiet setting that helped me develop.
Did any of those songs ever make it onto a record?
They did. 2 of them did. So
that's cool.
Yeah, the little song that is from the record I just put out, The Divers, is one of the songs that I recorded there. The songs that I play that are just me and piano are from those sessions.
That's fantastic. So. I mean, it's totally different discipline as well, though, for performing in a studio space, because it's so artificial in some ways as well.
Yeah, but it's not. It's real. It's the real deal. It's it feels just like you're comfortable with the people you're working with. It's just like playing in your living room.
And do you record with people live? Do you live take? Do you just set up mics, or do you do a lot of multi-tracking?
Well, that's for the record that we just put out. That was in a different recording studio at Susu Studios in Charlotte, and we did it.
Susu Studio, I love it.
Awesome, yeah, it's a great newish studio in town, and we tried to do everything live, everything at once.
That's great.
So, yep.
So you're pretty well rehearsed, obviously, when you're going into the studio as well.
Yes and no. I had a producer for that process, and he kind of wanted things to be very loose. And it's a little bit obvious if you listen to it, but that's what he wanted to go for. And
that's the magic of it as well.
Yeah, I think the song Jody that we did was just like sound check or something. I mean,
fantastic.
It's just everything was just so,
loose and ready and happening. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Well, let's take one of your musical picks from the Brownbread Mixtape archives. I know you only played one time, so you really can only pick from some of the people that you heard on that one night. But the piece of music we're going to play is by Andy Delamere, who played on the night you performed. Andy's a guitarist in Dublin, and the song he performed was "Don't You," or the song we're going to listen to rather is called "Don't You." What are your recollections of hearing Andy play on the night, and maybe just your thoughts on that?
He was just captivating and just so raw and honest and he played the guitar so aggressively.
Yeah, there's real energy and fire in what he does.
His voice was so haunting, and honestly, I was captivating. As soon as I said that word, I thought about a photograph that your wife Jessica took of him with these big piercing blue eyes.
Yeah, and the long hair as well. I think he's an 80-year-old man trapped in a young man's body. He definitely has a bluesy sort of history in his voice as well. Well, cool. Well, let's have a listen to Andy Delamere singing "Don't You."
Took your life, you took it all the time, and when you looked at me, you took a part of mine. When you went away, you told them all to stay. You said be back in a while, but you never came home. Why'd you tell them lies? Well, take a look in their eyes. Forget it all and we'll say it's all right. Well, don't you forget about them every day you go around. And I don't want to see them cry, you know, every little once in a while. And I don't want to see them cry. When you went away, you told them all to stay. You said be back in a while, but you never came home. I don't need to know, but take a look in their soul. Get out of the way, but you never said no. Well, don't you forget about them every day you go around. And I don't want to see them cry, you know, every little once in a while. And I don't want to see them cry. See them cry. took your life, you took it all the time. And when you looked at me, you took a part of mine. Well, don't you forget about them every day you go around. And I don't wanna see them cry, you know, every little once in a while. And I don't wanna see them cry. Thanks very much. Cheers. Thanks again, lads.
And that was "Don't You" by Andy Delamere, who performed the same night as Lindsey did at the Brownbread Mixtape. Okay, Lindsey, I'm going to do some rapid fire questions for you now. Okay.
All right, shoot.
So I've been accused in the past that these aren't so rapid fire. Like you have to think a little bit about them, but you can think as much or as little as you want about them. We'll give it a go. So my first question is, what was the first album you ever bought?
Well, Michael Jackson Thriller was my first cassette tape.
Excellent.
Does that count?
Yeah, of course it
Okay,
counts.
but I was 3, so I didn't buy it. I think
Okay.
it was in my stocking or
What was your
something
first
like
one that you consciously went out, I'm going to buy this record?
Bjork. I can't remember which
Really?
one it was, but
Brilliant.
yeah, probably, I was like 12 or 13.
She's
so.
playing this year at the Electric Picnic in Ireland. I can't wait to see her. Okay, off the top of your head, this is almost impossible to answer, but 3 of your favourite songwriters.
Okay. Joni Mitchell.
She's excellent.
Townes Van Zandt.
Oh, yeah.
And I really like this guy, Richard Buckner.
I don't know Richard Buckner.
Check
Where's
him
he from?
out. I know he lives in Austin. I think maybe Ohio.
Okay, he's an American performer, though.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
I'll definitely have to listen to him now. And maybe on the same vein, then maybe 3 of your favourite writers, not songwriters.
Well, let's see. Like poets.
Sure, poets is fine, novelists, whatever. 3 of your favourite writers.
Colin Keegan.
Ah, okay, well, we'll hear some of him
It's
later.
the truth.
Wow,
I
that's
mean it.
fantastic.
John Berryman is an
Great.
American poet that I really love. And then another American poet named Heather McHugh.
Cool. I don't know Heather McHugh. I'll have to listen to her or to read her stuff as well. Great, I'm learning loads today. Do you have a favourite Irish writer? No?
Seamus Heaney.
Famous Seamus is about the best we have living anyway. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to beat myself up and wish I'd said something else later on, but...
Well, how about a favourite
Wait a
Irish?
minute.
Yeah.
James Joyce.
James Joyce is pretty good. Yeah, he's all right. Beckett's not bad. Yates, pretty good. Yeah, we've a few of them. Shaw, Wilde. Favourite food?
Wait, gotta ask it again.
Favourite food?
Oh, ask it one more time.
What's your favourite food?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah. I like salt a lot too. I always say that's my favorite food, but I don't think it counts.
That counts.
It's delicious. Though.
Salt is delicious, I know. Okay, favourite place to go for a bit of peace and quiet?
Well, not today, but probably here, where
Really?
we are recording right now. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, you got to choose your poison: whiskey or beer.
Both. I can't.
You can't choose. That's Sophie's choice. Yeah. Okay. Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stones.
Rocking on. If you could speak another language tomorrow, what one would it be?
I don't know. I wish I could do your accent.
I don't think you want to do my
I can't
accent.
work it out.
Okay, fair enough. No worries. You don't need to speak another language. You're doing just fine. Favorite Muppet Show character?
I like the chick that was in the band with the always looked stoned.
Oh,
with the
yeah,
bangs.
Janice.
Janice, is that her name?
I
Yeah,
can't-
it's kind of creepy. I identified with her at a young age. Is that a sign?
No, that's
Something?
okay.
Janice, yeah.
Well, my son loves Animal, so
Okay.
I think there's something there.
Did she play bass, Janice?
She might have played bass, yeah.
Oh, wow.
There was Zoot as well, who was the saxophonist, and then there
Okay.
was Dr. Teeth,
Okay.
and Janice was definitely in the band. That's all I remember about the
Okay,
band,
yeah,
the
that's
Muppet
pretty
Show.
impressive.
All right. Who's the coolest, Ryan Adams or Bryan
I
Adams?
don't know. I love them both, I have to say. Bryan Adams has a really special place in my heart.
He does?
Yeah. I was thinking about covering a Bryan Adams song.
You were?
Today. Oh, yeah.
Wow, fantastic. That generally isn't the response I expect from a Bryan Adams.
I love his songs.
Cool. Well, Ryan Adams is from North
respect for him.
Carolina as
That's
well, of course.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. This one's a more philosophical question. Do you think the internet's bringing us closer together or taking us further apart?
I'm not on Facebook. So
No, neither am I.
I don't know. But sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on some great big party that's happening without me.
Yeah, but you've heard of FOMO?
But,
The fear of
yeah.
missing out? I think that's all it is.
But I think I'm going to say further apart because I'm all right with it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What album do you think you've listened to the most times in your life? Apart from the mixes of your own records.
Seriously, I'm like, oh gosh. Probably Joni Mitchell. Probably either Port and Spark or Hejera.
Cool.
Yeah, and you know how like you listen to stuff when you were younger and you loved it so much and you go back to it and you're like, how did I ever listen to this? I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah, sure, of course.
Joni Mitchell, I just seem to fall in love with it more and more, you know?
Yeah, I think there's some of those.
So.
Those are the records that you never still have in your collection because you keep giving them away as a present.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Your dream travel destination?
Iceland.
Iceland, wow, yeah. See Bjork in concert in Iceland, that'd be pretty
true.
sweet. Yeah, that'd be
Love
good.
to go.
All right, last one on the rapid fires. The best thing about being a songwriter is?
I was about to say picking up chicks, but that didn't sound right. That you can get back to the boys that have broken your heart.
And rewrite the history?
Be a song, that's right.
Nice. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm going to play one of the skits now from this comedy sketches from our night. Thank you for doing the rapid fire questions, by the way. Yes.
Fun.
So I'm going to play a comedy sketch now. I was originally looking at the sketches that were on the night you were there, and one of our most popular and one of my personally most favorite ones was the Werner Herzog comedy sketch we did that night. But that's already been selected for one of the previous podcasts. But I know you did talk very, very fondly about our performances as well. So I've picked a different sketch that I wrote for Eva, who performs with us. It's called The Dublin Teenager of the Future Writes a Letter to a Present Teenager in Dublin. And it's just that, what it says on the tin, she performs it very well. And maybe if you wanted to even just give your quick thoughts on what you thought of the comedy sketches on the night, or what kind of an impression they made on you.
It was hilarious. I'm sure I was just sitting there like with my cheeks hurting because it was so funny. And it's Eva.
Eva, yeah.
And her voice, I could just listen to her talk. I want her to read me bedtime stories.
I'm sure that could be arranged.
Can you work that out?
Yeah,
Gosh,
no
she's
problem.
just so cute. So.
Yeah, very talented actors, every single one of them, and Eva especially so. Well, cool. Well, let's have a listen to the Dublin Teenager sketch from the Brownbread Players, and this is Eva Bartley.
Oh my god, hi. This is so weird. So hi past tensors. My name is Ugnis and I live in Dublin, which is like a suburb of Belfast. And I have 2 parentals and we're probably middle class. And so this is my day every day. So, first thing in the morning, I get up and have a bowl of cheese and onion shreddies, bag of ice cream, 4 coffee cokes at least. Then I use the face hose for a second and then replace my disposable teeth. Unless I'm hiding drug bags in them, then I keep them hiding for days like a bandit. I'm so clever like that. And then before I head out, I put my government cloth on, but totally rebel by giving them the finger when the machine dresses me. Then I drive my Beamer board to the education shack. It's totally compulsory and shit. I do my hours in Gael Ganua, Neil Ainton, Martha Hinton, Sinn Féin, and math science, which is blackout boring. Then I usually sneak off with the girls to smoke 6 sticks break time. In the post-meridian, I spend time in the digi-room, surfing, researching, checking out hot bots, posting status updates, buying apparel in boo boutiques, and arse around until we clock out. Everyone leaves a little early every day because we pay the guard with moon whiskey and blowies to let us go. Then it's Beamer board straight to Schnocta's house for a YouTube party. We just met these cute Brazilian guys who love to samba, so we're totally pretending we like to do that so we can teleport over to Brazil next summer. I even told them I think football is great and Brazil are the best. I also said I love Rio, and Schnocta's you mean Rio the water river? And I'm no, Schnocta, you dull brain. Rio was in Rio the YouTube song with the guys on a boat ages ago in the 80s. And she's you're so smart, Yo. And I'm like, I know, Yo. And we're like totally going to bag and teleport to Brazil off all of this. After like doing that crap for ages, I usually go homestead and argue with the retardo parentals who are usually drunk on the Jesus juice and like listen to the worst oldies music every night, like Bruce Springsteen, who's like this guy who looks like a sweating truck driver with a guitar. And he talks all about being born in these places with loads of letters that like don't even prancing exist. Look it up in your Google Mac, you prat slice. Then I eat like a few slices of kebab pizza and have a can of fat fuck before I knock up to my room zone. I'll usually message my mates for about 6 hours before I go to sleep and then take a bang off the Hashbox 360 before I'm out. So that's like me and like what I like to do. Message me, okay? Tell me how shit it is where you are, okay? This would be like so freaky. Okay, go on, finger slams, ooh this.
And that was the Dublin Teenager sketch performed by the Brownbread Players, specifically performed by Eva Bartley. Okay, Lindsay, I got a couple of questions maybe around influences and inspirations for you. Maybe just the broadest question of all, who inspires you?
Musically.
Yeah, musically or even in general, maybe you can talk about first.
Gosh, I don't know. I need some time on that one.
Okay. Well, musically then, maybe who are the big inspirations you've had during the years in music? Well, I mean, obviously Joni Mitchell sounds like a big inspiration as well.
Yeah, I think that I'm just inspired by, I think I mentioned Joni Mitchell and Richard Buckner, especially for being just so honest in their work and not being afraid of what people think about them. So I am really, I admire that, the bravery in being yourself in song. So I constantly will go back to their words just to be like, okay, they did it, you know, they put themselves out there. It's hard to do that, so...
do you feel that that's still something you have to get better at?
Yeah, always. And it's, I think this time in the stage of my life, I'm writing in a way where I can get away with not having to be so out there and just enjoy performing, enjoy playing. So I'm taking a little break from it, and then I know I'll get back to it. It's just innate. I can't not put everything into what I do, so...
Yeah, fair enough. And then I guess maybe, I mean, if we're still talking about influences and inspirations, are you influenced by other art forms, other artists? Like, is there filmmakers that really inspire you, or are there painters or novelists or I mean, poets, obviously?
Yeah, I love dance, and I can't tell you a dancer that I love. I have, I'm a piano teacher, and many of my students are dancers. They're in ballet, and I love to go see them. I think I wish...
Modern dance?
Ballet.
Ballet.
Actually, I wish I could do it. It's
Tell me
something
what's great about ballet. I cannot understand it. Like, I'm a Philistine. I want to. I went to a ballet one time and I just didn't really get it.
Well, I think for me, in loving classical music, it's just a way that you can feel it with your whole body. It's a total different way of feeling the song, and you feel it with every part of your body, and it's just like flying, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you ever do ballet yourself?
Heck no. I do in my living room some nights after having too much to drink, but it's
I don't think that classifies as doing ballet.
No.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, then maybe...
No, I love dance. I love modern dance. I love to watch dancers.
And is there a lot of opportunity to see stuff like that in North Carolina as well?
There actually is. There is. I mean,
Great.
we've got North Carolina Dance Theater and some amazing productions. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Maybe then still on the topic of kind of influences and inspiration, could you point to a time where somebody gave you a good piece of advice about maybe music or about writing? Is there somebody? Obviously, I mean, you talked a bit about that experience in the studio, which sounded like a hugely influential sort of not advice, but kind of thing that shaped you. But was there anything else specifically that would stand out for you?
I think it's just in meeting other writers and like yourself as well. The light just went off on what inspires me is finding people like me that being creative and being passionate about creating the center of their world and their life and what they do every single day. And just I have a small handful of people like that, and you're in it, that just I just really admire what you're doing with your work, and
thank
especially
you.
in the fact that you're supporting other artists so much as well, and it makes it doubly amazing. But just knowing those friends that it's okay. It's hard sometimes to be surrounded by people that aren't creative,
Sure.
and because you sometimes they don't realize like why you need to go be alone,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And so having the friends that I have,
Right.
so.
And do you think that that you have a network of people who understand the art that you make? Like, are there people who you would bounce your ideas off? Like, who gives you feedback, or who do you trust to listen to your stuff and give you the real answers and honest sort of thoughts?
Yeah, musically, I have my bandmates in terms of chord progressions or song structure, but in terms of lyrics, I have one friend, and that is a professor of mine from an old friend from Queen's University, and he's the head of the MFA program there, Dr. Mike Cobry, and I can just send him my lyrics and he'll look over them and chat with me about, I have a bad case of writer's block at the moment. Like,
Really?
Pretty crippling. I'm terrified. So,
Really?
yeah, it's pretty awful, and I'll just email him like, help me, and he's always got something positive to say.
Right.
I'm so grateful to him.
And will he talk to you about structural things in terms of the writing, or will he just talk about ideas or concepts, or how does that work even?
He's just encouraging, and he looks at the lyrics. I mean, I love the guys I make music with in the band, but songwriting is different than playing in a band. It's it's a totally different thing, and they don't even ask like, what's the song about? We never talk about the lyrics ever. They might suggest something I'll do vocally, like melodically, to change something, but it's never about.
But that's almost a musical
words.
thing, isn't it, rather than an actual text-based thing?
I
as
know
well.
loads of musicians, and the person I go to for songwriting advice is not a songwriter.
Right.
So he's a fiction writer.
Right.
So.
That's interesting, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. I'm fascinated to hear about that kind of stuff. And then maybe just to close out the kind of idea about inspiration and stuff, have you ever found, I know I've found sort of inspiration in really unusual moment or in an unusual place. Can you even maybe think about a moment where you had something like that, some unexpected bit of inspiration? Where like a song happens by accident, or you see something one day, you go, holy crap, I really should write about that.
Yeah. I'm a teacher I teach piano lessons. So I'm inspired daily by things that my little ones say. I'm sure you can relate as a parent, but in terms of like coming up with a piece, I dreamt a song once, and
Really?
it came to me in a dream. I'm sure other songwriters have said the same thing, but and I woke up with this really bizarre melody in my head, and I ran to my tape recorder and tried to figure it out on the piano. It was really tricky to figure out. It took me the longest time, so I was humming it and then trying to figure it out, and it's the song called The Waves that's on my record, The Divers, but that came to me in a dream.
That's amazing.
It is pretty cool.
And were there
I wish
lyrics
that
as well in
happened
that
more
moment?
often. I know the lyrics. I knew when I was hearing the song in my dream. There was water. I was in water. There were waves in the shore line. It was all
Kind
there.
of muddy.
The imagery was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So then, but the song came in one day. In one day, I wrote all the words. So that'd be great if it happened more often.
That'd be
I don't
awesome.
know what I had, to eat for dinner the night before. I can't remember. I should have written it down because it'd be awesome if it would always work that.
I heard a
easily.
similar story. I think it was when you two were writing the Rattle and Hum album. Bono had a dream of a Bob Dylan song, and he called up Bob Dylan the next day, as you do if Bob Dylan's your pal.
Right.
And he called him up and he sang him like the chorus over the phone. He said, "Did you write this?" And Bob Dylan said, "No, I didn't write that." And he goes, "Would you like to?" He said, "Sure." And he brought him in, and it's a song called "Love Rescue Me," and it's on the Rattle and Hum album. It's a fantastic song as well. So you're in good company with the dreams and the songs there, Bob Dylan and Bono. Anyway, as an aside, cool. Well, let's have a little listen to. Seeing as we're talking about inspirations and influences, I'd love to hear you perform a cover version. We always ask somebody to perform a piece that's sort of dear to their heart by somebody else. So maybe if you want to tell us what you were hoping to play for us today, and maybe why you picked it.
Yeah, when you asked the question a little bit ago about what records you've been listening to the most, it's probably surprising to say this, but for some people to hear me say it, but I'm a huge Steely Dan fan.
Are you?
Huge, enormous, and I just can't get enough of the stuff.
Wow.
For the musical arrangements and the lyrics especially. So I just thought about trying out a Steely Dan song called Dirty Work.
Great. Well, that sounds fantastic. So let's have a listen to Dirty Work by Steely Dan.
Times are hard, you're afraid to pay the fee, so you find yourself somebody who can do the job for free. When you need a bit of loving, 'cause your man is out of town, that's the time you give me running, and you know I'll be around. I'm a fool to do your dirty work, oh yeah. I don't wanna do your dirty work no more. I'm a fool to do your dirty work, oh yeah. Light the candle, put the lock upon the door. You have sent the maid home early like 1,000 times before. Like the castle in its corner in some medieval game, I foresee terrible trouble, and I stay here just the same. I'm a fool to do your dirty work, oh yeah. I don't wanna do your dirty work no more. I'm a fool to do your dirty work, oh
And that was Dirty Work by Steely Dan. Thank you very much for playing that for us, Lindsay. So we're nearly coming towards the end of the podcast. I did want to ask you a little bit more, though, before we do close it out, about your record that you released last year. Is that right?
Yep. It's been, over a year now, so.
Yeah, it's called The Divers.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe just tell us a little bit about kind of where some of those songs, sort of how they came together. Are they songs that were written over a long period of time or a short period of time?
Well, they started off, I guess a long period of time. A couple of them were really old. But then as I had a producer, Randolph Lewis, that helped me every step of the way. And I just piled a bunch of songs in his lap and said, help me, and he and I just weeded through them and we started placing them in, their orders, and then I started writing even more and more and filling in the gaps, and so...
Yeah, great. And he obviously helped you shape it quite a lot then.
He did. He just helped me stay on track and keep going.
Great.
So,
and it's gotten a lovely reaction as well. It seems like people have really liked it.
I'm really, really grateful to Charlotte, and...
It's a terrific record. It really, really is. How can people get their hands on it?
It's on iTunes.
Oh, great.
Lindsey
Okay.
Ryan, and I think if you just Google it, there's different ways it's
Different ways.
available on
Yeah.
CD Baby and
Great.
all that business.
The old-fashioned CDs that so few people use these days.
Yep, got several of those.
Great. And then, so you've alluded to it already, that you're playing in a new kind of a musical project now. So maybe tell us a little bit about that and what that's about.
It doesn't have a name yet, but we are I just feel like when you meet somebody and you have a great big crush on them, and you don't want them to break your heart or leave you. That's what it feels like right now. I'm just so excited about it, and it's definitely different than the music I've made before. It's very experimental and sort of electronic.
What's the kind of makeup of the band? What kind of instruments and what?
I've got a drummer that's playing. He's just phenomenal, Chris Waldorf. He owns Susu Studios. But
Nice.
He plays a drum pad and all kinds of little noises. He's just so creative. And we've got a bass player, Chris Lennon, and a guitar player, David Driscoll. And then me, I'm playing organ and kind of whirly sounds and spooky. It's just pretty dark. It
Great.
really is. It's dark music with my, creepy little voice over the top of it.
It's not creepy.
So it's a funny contrast, though. Like
Yeah.
having, I have a sort of sweet sound to my voice.
With that kind of darker undertone to it.
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
It's really mellow. So
And
I'm
where
so
did that
excited.
project come out of, or how did that come about?
Well, I've known the guys in the band for a long time. Chris Waldorf, the drummer, recorded some of my new record, but we all played together in a project called the Sea of Cortez, which was a phenomenal instrumental band that was around for probably 10 years here in town.
Oh yeah.
And so I was in the, last year of the project I played organ in the band. So
Cool.
unfortunately we're not together anymore because we lost Rodney Lanier, our pedal steel player and the songwriter, to cancer really suddenly. But
that's sad.
but you have to check out his music. And they never finished the record, but it's on SoundCloud, and I can give you some links to
Yeah.
some recordings. So
Let's
it's
even we're going to stop the podcast right now. We're going to play a little. We're going to play a little clip of Rodney Lanier's
That's right.
music right now. So let's have a quick listen to that right now. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that's a Sea of Cortez. So really, really one of the best times of my life making music with those boys. So.
And so then the new project is essentially out of the ashes of that Sea of Cortez project.
That's true. It's totally different though. It's not
Sure.
the same, and it took about a year after we lost Rodney to even talk about trying to get together and do anything, but now it's happening. So.
And so, what's the plan for it? Are you are you recording?
We will be hopefully at the end of this year.
Great.
And just I have to finish lyrics right now. We've got a lot of demos recorded of me singing la 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 la. So right. Everybody else has their act together, and I'm hustling to get words done. Okay. And so I gotta get on it.
And is that something you will then hopefully go out and tour live?
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Come to the Brownbread Mixtape. Come to Ireland.
Oh, we'd love to.
We'll try and get you over.
All right. I love it.
That'd be amazing. Okay, before we close, I do want you to select a piece of poetry from our live archives. And I know you've selected a poem by Colm Keegan, who you already named as one of your favourite writers. His head will be swelling at the very thought of that. But he is a phenomenal writer, and he performed on the night that you performed with us at the Brownbread Mixtape. The poem we're going to play is a poem called Cheek, Cheek, Chin and Nose, which is a stunning piece. But maybe just talk to us a little bit about kind of the impression that Colm made on you as a writer and perhaps even as a performer, and why you chose him for this.
Yeah, I think that the funniest thing about that night is when he started to read, I had no idea what the heck he was saying, because his accent just seemed
it's so quite strong,
and it took me like probably a minute to get it, and then I just couldn't believe what he was saying. It was just so beautiful, and I don't know, I like noisy poets where the words bang together with lots of sound, and he definitely does that. And his poems just have, they have this sort of, not all of them, but the ones, that I'm thinking of. The one that he read that night, I remember just sort of such an harsh, industrial, honest feel, but then there's these like moments of life that just
delicate moments
that spring up, and the contrast is just, it blows me away.
Great. Well, I think this poem is certainly reflective of all of those things as well. So let's take a listen to Cheek, Cheek, Chin and Nose by Colm Keegan.
It was short, the way you spoke. You sitting up on this pillar, me sitting down low, and the flow of your words was clipped as you shot a rhyme after passing ambulance. Cheek, cheek, chin and nose, you said. Hope we never go on those. If we do, I will go. Cheek, cheek, chin and nose. And shorter still was the distance between your life and mine. You got closer than I would have liked when you were furthest away, at your lowest ebb, caught in a web of drugs and tricks. And me, the teenage tick, in love with you all along. With your voice, with the song of it. That's the long and the short of it. You probably had a fit that night when bad gear fell on the city like bad weather, and wherever they found you, some poxy squat or whatever with rat poison in your veins, it was a million miles away from all the things you could have been. No white wedding for you, no babies on your knee, 2 brothers left behind, you being the only girl. The only girl. I think of Dublin like this huge, dirt-ridden blanket, moth-eaten, holy, like something shrouding a homeless man, something he tries to smooth, something he thinks can keep him warmer, but it never can. Your ma, she used to pray. You'd be out banging up or who knows what, and she'd be at home saying the rosary and ignoring the clock ticking on your life. And the closer you got to your midnight, the further away from me. And I never said I liked you. If we had said maybe. In my head you wander around, you stir up the dust. I still remember that time on the bus going from Crumlin into town, and you appeared before me. There were others around, but they're forgotten. You're remembered like a myth. The way the sun shone round your head. You dyed your hair, I just sat there, you were chewing gum, your mouth gammon on, wearing this Levi's denim shirt. Top buttons undone. So close. I should have kissed you. Little did I know that by then, your heart was already lost. The drugs had won. Later, someone told me that you were only riddled, like with the virus, like a body full of bullet holes. That's how he saw you, but not me. I'll always see you on that bus. The two of us trundling into town, everything else crumbling, falling down all round, and that shine in your face. That magic glow. That sickness. That song that was the last rays of your waning soul. Rosemary. Cheek, cheek, chin and nose, you said. Hope we never go on those. If we do, I will go. Cheek, cheek, chin and nose. Thanks.
And that was Cheek, Cheek, Chin and Nose by Colm Keegan. So Lindsey, it's unfortunately the end of the podcast. Boo. But it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. Just so people know out there in internet land who are listening to this, how can they find out more about your music? I know you said you're on iTunes, but you have a website, right?
I have a website. It's, I think, lindseyRyanmusic.com.
It's
got a
right.
link to my Facebook
and your iTunes and your SoundCloud and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And they can listen to samples of the music on there as well, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Great. And is there anything else you'd like to part with? Any other?
I'm just grateful you've had me be a part in any way of Brownbread Mixtape. I just think it's the coolest thing, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. And
Thank you.
I'm just so thankful, and I love what you're doing over there. I love it, love it, love it.
We'll bring it to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the plan.
I wish I could have you come over here and do it, but I really wish I could just move over there and be a part of it all the time.
Cool. Well, your standing invitation to come and perform, and maybe one day we will bring it to North Carolina. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yep.
Take it to here and Asheville and all the other exciting places you mentioned earlier on. Cool. Well, listen, thanks a million. And please, everybody, pick up The Divers by Lindsey Ryan. It's on iTunes. It's on all those good places. It's a brilliant record, truly. As you heard at the opening of the podcast, you heard The Divers, which is a phenomenal track. We have a couple of other tracks of Lindsey's up on our YouTube channel that she performed on the night with Christoph Capewell and our own Enda Roach. They're up there. It's Orion and Postcard are up there online. And there's all manner of wealth of wonderful stuff you can read about Lindsey on her own homepages and all of that. So please check it out. We are on our usual haunts online. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube and Twitter and all of those things. So please be our digital friends if you wish. And other than that, all remains is to say thank you very much for listening. And we'll close it out with the alternative Irish national anthem as we always do. Thanks a million for listening. Bye. Bye, Lindsey.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Carla.
See ya.
A hen, a doe, a three, cattery egg.
My blood is boiling for Ireland. My blood is boiling for Ireland. Ireland, Ireland, Ireland. In Ireland, my blood is boiling for Ireland. Connis to talk to.
Tom make a ma,
I will do a show.
Tommy on shot.
Connis to talk to.
Tom make a ma,
I will do.
Tom make a look.
My blood is boiling for Ireland. My blood is boiling for Ireland. Ireland, Ireland, Ireland. Ireland, my blood is boiling for Ireland. Connis to talk to.
Tom make a ma,
I will do a shot.
Tommy on shot.
Connis to talk to.
Tom make a ma,
I will do a shot.
Tommy on shot.
My blood is boiling for Ireland. My blood is boiling for Ireland. Ireland, 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 in Ireland. My blood is boiling for Ireland. Come on, Ireland!
Well, it's Saturday night. You're all dressed up in blue. I've been watching you a while. Maybe you've been watching me someone's heart in a mess. Well, if you're looking for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest. Some girls, they want a handsome Dan or some good-looking Joe. On their arms, some girls like a sweet-talking Romeo. Well, around here, baby, I learned you get what you can get. And if you're looking for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest. Well, the road is dark, and it's a thin, thin line. But I want you to know I walk it for you anytime. Maybe your other boyfriends couldn't pass the test. And if you're rough and ready for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest. Well, it ain't no secret, I've been around a time or two. Well, I don't know, baby, maybe you've been around too. Well, there's another dance, all you gotta do is say yes. And if you're looking for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest. And if you're looking for love, honey, I'm tougher than the rest.
So if I say brown, you say red. Brown,